Hello, welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso, and this is like cut 57. It's been crazy. I'm just stumbling all over the place. Probably because I'm still sicker than yesterday. Did take NyQuil, I think drowsy this morning, whatever, so I'm a little bit blah. But nevertheless, I'm going to soldier through this for you. I want to thank the 3 of you who subscribed to my channel yesterday. I now have 103 subscribers, and I think that's just totally awesome. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are subscribers, please hit the like button. I didn't even know that was a thing until today. Like in YouTubeville, hitting the like button means something as far as stats go. So yeah, if you like the video, please like it. And for those of you who haven't subscribed, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. Today, I'm going to talk about the most feared guy on federal death row. That is, who's the guy that the staff over in Terre Haute fear the most? How do I know? Well, I do know. And how do I know? It's because I served 9 years in that complex. I was at the Federal Correctional Institution, which is the old USP, or United States Penitentiary, in Terre Haute, Louisiana. We call it Terre Haute. In 2005, they built a new prison, maximum security prison, or high security is the proper high security United States Penitentiary, USP. And in that facility, there is a special housing unit, and within the special housing unit sits death row. Death row sits on top of the special housing unit, or the SHU. I actually have been over to that SHU, and I was able to talk or correspond with death row inmates for about a week. And I'm going to do a live segment on that on my Facebook page. So if you haven't been over to my Facebook page, Facebook at Convict Inc., after I get done here, I'm going to go ahead and do a live show about my experience in talking to the guys on death row. I'm going to keep it to the one person on death row. Okay, so prior to Trump administration, I think it was 2004, was the last federal inmate executed. When Trump came into office, well, he came into office promising he was going to execute people, and he made good on his promise. In all, he executed 13 people. Now, the death house, the actual place that the person is put to death, sits adjacent to the prison I was in. Less than 100 yards away from where the guy died, where the people were executed. The death house sits just on outside of the fence. It's just a stone's throw away, and it's a trip knowing that people are being put to death that close. So the first person that I experienced being put to death while I was in that prison was Daniel Lee. He was so-called white supremacist out of Arkansas who claimed he didn't do it, and the case was actually fascinating. Anyway, I'm not going to get on to that, but he was the first person, and I kept a journal in prison. I want to read something real quick, and it says, I will say that it's really a strange feeling knowing that they just put someone to death in the same prison that I'm in. As for how the rest of the inmates in here are feeling, no one seems to care. Everyone wants to just take a shower and be able to get on the phone. But since the execution was delayed, I'm sure we won't be able to hit the showers today. So what happened was, every time they executed an inmate, they would lock us down. And it sucked because sometimes, so if they had an execution on like Tuesday, they were starting off locking us down on Sunday night. And then they wouldn't let us off for a day or two afterwards. And that has to do with security and all that. I think that the Bureau of Prisons really didn't know how the inmates were going to act. I think there's this a feeling that everybody inside, the inmates, the prisoners, whatever, are going to freak out because they're killing somebody, and it's just not the case. To be honest, I was really surprised, and I know this is maybe a little controversial, and I've said it before, I think, on this. There were more prisoners in favor of the death penalty than people who weren't. And I'm going to say this, I think it was a strategic move on the Trump administration's part to kill a white supremacist first. You know, they went ahead and did 13 from July till the day before he left office. There was 13, boom, boom, boom. And he took off and killed some white people first. And I think that lowered the temperature because of the history with minorities being on death row in this country. Far more African Americans have been killed, and there's a lot surrounding that issue. But when you take race out of the equation, and I think that's what the Trump administration did, and went ahead and killed the white guy first, it makes everybody, it takes away the feeling, and everybody is able to think more about their feelings toward the death penalty. And like I said, I'd probably do a poll on that, on former prisoners, and see how they feel. But I'm telling you, it was a trip to see that. Anyway, so as the execution went about, and we would get sometimes 2, I think we got 3. The most we got is 3 in a week one time. I talked to different guards who'd worked over on death row about the inmates over there. And I've also talked to staff who monitors their email and phone calls. I do know that when Trump was appointed to office, when he became president, we all, the night that Trump was elected, I know that there were several staff members that were telling us in Terre Haute that there was a number of guys on death row that are crying because Trump was into office. They knew what time it was. They knew Trump was going to crank up the death penalty. So there was lots of guys that were crying, and there was some staff making fun of them, but that's a whole different issue. So being in a prison that long, you get to know different staff members, and I had asked more than a dozen, over a month period, who's the guy you fear over on death row the most? Who's the one that scares you, keeps you guys up, keeps you on your toes when you're over there? Hands down, Mark Snar, aka Snuff. Now, that ties into my story yesterday. Mark is a member of the SAC, the Soldiers of Aryan Culture. He and another inmate, Mexican guy, killed a guy at USP Beaumont and stabbed a correctional officer. In the process, it was a bloody mess, and from what staff says is that Mark Snar, I think there's been one incident over there where where he had an altercation with staff, but he's the guy they fear the most. They say he's super, super respectful. But when he goes off, when he loses it, he's that guy. So you guys want to look at these old pictures of him on the internet. If I had this down, if I had the editing thing down like I will in a week, then I would be able to flash pictures in front and do all the things you're supposed to. And yeah, I apologize. I just decided to start putting content out before I got all that, but I will. But that is by far the guy that's they fear the most. And there's really nothing more to say here. So I think that's just interesting to put out there. That's a fact. So that's not no fiction. And I know there's other guys that were in there that have asked officers that are probably going to watch this video that can back me up and say the same. But Snuff, most dangerous guy on death row. Who would have thunk?